Okay, and welcome. This is Matt, Sean, Kevin, and Augie, and tonight is going to be our review of Man of Steel. Like all of our reviews, this is going to be spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, check it out before you listen to this. Okay, here we go. So now that we all saw the movie and we all have very varied opinions from a little bit of prior discussion, we're actually going to go in order in terms of who liked it the most down. I think that'd be kind of an interesting. No disrespect to the guy who liked it the least. It's just I think it'd be an interesting way to address it. I'm going to go first because this was a movie that when I saw all the marketing and stuff, I was like, oh God, here we go. We're going to see another origin of Superman. You know, the Donner films are almost perfect. Why do this again? And then as I thought more and more about it, I was like, okay, it's been 35 years. I think that's long enough to where you can reintroduce this to an audience.
True.
And I have to say, this is not the movie I was expecting. This is not the movie I was expecting. And this is a good way. Because I was expecting just a pitch point remake of the Richard Donner movies.
Not at all.
And that couldn't be anything further from the truth. And I think that's what this movie had to do. Because that was Superman Returns' biggest failure, among many other ones, was that it tried to stay too close. And this one, they totally do something different. First of all, I'm gonna start off with, I'm kind of gonna try and go in chronological order. The first 20 minutes of this movie are spectacular. This is the most detailed version of Krypton in any version of the media, whether it was the TV show, the animated series, Smallville, or even in the first two Donner movies. It's such a detailed version of Krypton, and they give it a lot more time than I was expecting. And they do borrow, most of the Krypton stuff was borrowed from a arc that was called The Last Days of Krypton, and it follows a very similar pattern, and the relationship between Jor-El and Zod is borrowed heavily from that. Speaking of which, I gotta say, I was very down on Russell Crowe before I saw the movie, and I have to say he was one of my favorite parts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll touch on Michael Shannon a little bit later.
Actually, one thing. Going into the movie, of course, I come off after a whole weekend of seeing, mixed reviews, or, a lot of people really liking it, but a lot of people not liking it. Within 5 minutes of that Krypton sequence, any of the negativity that I had read just absolutely went out the window. I was completely pulled in and amazed by that first 20 minutes of Krypton.
Not just the visuals, which I think one of the best things about this movie, in period, is the visuals. If anybody knows how to do visuals, it's Zack Snyder.
Oh yeah.
And I think he deserves a lot of the credit, in my opinion, for the success of this movie. It wasn't like Sucker Punch, where he just went ape shit with the visuals. He worked with his screenwriter, he worked with the producers, and because he has a clear vision of what Superman should be, he's able to translate that. But back to the Krypton stuff, right away, you get sucked into the emotion. You get sucked into the characters, which is something that I feel a lot of the negative reviews, I can understand where they're coming from, that it's kind of detached, but me personally, I didn't see that. I got really caught up. Like, when they send off Kal-El, I got a little teary-eyed.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, God, not now. And especially because I knew it was going to happen, and for a movie to be able to do that is a true testament. All the Smallville stuff, this movie spends a lot of time in Smallville, which is something I was really happy they did. Because a lot of the other movies, they don't spend that much time in Smallville. You could argue the first one does, but even that's only one act of the film. If that. And all the flashbacks, I really appreciate how Snyder and the crew, they decide to tell this, much like Batman Begins. They decide to tell it in a non-linear story through flashbacks. And I think that was a very nice way to approach it. Speaking of which, I do consider this the Batman Begins of Superman. Not just because Chris Nolan was involved, but this is...
Right.
What?
Well, and, just the whole darker tone also fits.
Well, not just the darker, I think.
Darker is more realistic, so the dark elements bring in just from that.
Mm-hmm.
It also reinvigorates Superman, which is what Batman Begins did, because there was an eight-year period in between Batman and Robin and Batman Begins, and there was a 7-year period between in terms of Man of Steel. And thematically, I love how this movie touched on the theme of Batman Begins was fear. This one's hope. I think that was a really nice dichotomy that they were able to do. And I want the whole idea of choice versus predestination, destiny, everything is touched on. Everything that I feel is crucial to Superman, and I should preface this by saying I love Superman a lot more than most people. He's one of my favorites to read, and this movie does take a lot of liberties. The whole thing about on Krypton, how you're born into a specific role, that is all new. Unless there's something I've never read or heard about, but I'm pretty sure that's almost an entirely new idea.
Can we touch on my favorite change of all?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank God, Lois knows that both of them are the same person.
I was so happy they did that because...
Thank God. I mean, I know they go back to the glasses in the end, but technically she's the only person who's seen both of them as the same person, not the others.
And it's much like Batman Begins where Rachel knows he's Batman.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
also, when they kiss Superman and Lois, Matt, you and I were both thinking, don't mind the race. No mind the race or kiss, please.
Oh, that's what I thought. Yeah. I was like, no.
No, do it.
And the kid actors who play Clark, they're really good.
They're great.
And I was shocked because I'm not big on child actors. As much as I love Batman Begins, I wasn't a fan of the kid who played the young Bruce Wayne. I feel like the two kids are really good. Kevin Costner's terrific. And I was shocked because I don't like Kevin Costner. And he was actually really good.
Oh,
he is Pocket.
Yeah.
Again, another great change was the way they handled his death.
Yeah, I thought that was really well done.
I cried.
I teared up, and I can't believe how many times I'm saying that. And
the moment he held up his hand, I was like...
And mostly, a lot of this story takes another key element of Superman. This is the first one that really explores him being an alien and not being a human, and it really addresses that really well. And also, I gotta say, I wasn't big on the changes to Lois as far as her being a lot smarter of a character because it was totally different. But eventually, the more I thought about it, I'm like, this is a new Superman for a new generation, but it still maintains what makes Superman the icon that he is. And this one finally also shows, it addresses, can we trust Superman?
Yeah.
You know, someone with that much power, can we allow ourselves to trust them? And what would happen if he just said, screw you guys? And they even say a line, he's like, how do we know we could trust you? And he goes, you can't. I don't have actually...
That was great.
I'm sorry. I love this movie so much. A lot more than I thought I was. I tried to distance myself from all the other Superman movies, and I will say this is the best one since the first Donner one. I know that's not saying much, but I think compared to the first two, that is a high compliment.
I remember before you went into it, I told you, now leave your returns hate at the door.
And,
actually, Matt, I rewatched Superman 2, and I do agree this is one of the better Superman films since the first one, but I still don't like it.
Can't all be like me. And if anybody knows how to do action, Zack Snyder he knows what he's doing, because finally we got a Superman that kicks ass. And I do think it went on, granted it went on a little too long, I thought, but it wasn't like they repeated one shot over and over.
Yeah.
It's not like Transformers where it's shot so close and it's so erratic that you can't tell what's happening. There's sacrifices, there's key consequences to what happens. And I should probably touch on General Zod. This is the most militarized version of General Zod I've seen in any kind of the media or even in comics, and I think it works really well because they made him... What they also need to do is make Zod totally different from what Terrence Stamp did.
Yeah, he gave him a motive.
Yes, they gave him a key motive and a key... He's really, in this one, he's the total opposite of Superman.
He's given reason to be on Earth, which I actually like, but...
Exactly, and they made him somewhat sympathetic, which is often... They are the best kind of villains. And he's certainly not a good guy.
No. Well, see, I think what they did a great thing was they made him understandable and somewhat sympathetic, but they didn't try to make him like sob story sympathetic.
Yeah, it wasn't like Sandman.
Yeah, like he's clearly still evil. There's just another shade, another.
He has motives for why he's trying to bring back Krypton. And Perry White, Lawrence Fishburne was great.
So good.
I wish they used him a little more.
Mm-hmm.
But considering this is a Superman origin, and of course Henry Cavill, I feel he was very good as Superman. Considering
he was.
Because I heard a lot of people shitting on him for undeserved reasons. Mostly they were saying he doesn't get enough dialogue. Can you blame him for that?
Yeah, no. And I heard a lot of people say the dialogue thing too, but I didn't think that at all.
I thought he was given a lot to say, and this is more Clark's movie.
Yeah.
Because it's Clark becoming Superman. It's not...
Yeah.
And it sets up the character that he eventually becomes. I have teeny nitpicks, but nothing that takes me out. I 4 out of 4 for me. This is my favorite movie of the year. And
Dang.
and as much as I love Batman Begins, I like this a little bit more. Maybe that'll change on repeated viewings, but the reason I like it more is because what humor there is in this, I think it works a lot better than what Nolan's able to do with humor.
We just lost Kevin.
Ah, crap. And I'll redial him. Are you guys still there?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, he just left. I'll recall him, or he'll come back. But and
He
also
says the internet went awry.
yeah. I just thought it brought back the wonder of Superman, and the third act for this I feel is a lot stronger than the third act of Batman Begins. In the sense that
I would agree with that.
And the usage of killing the supervillain makes a lot more sense here.
Yes.
Because as much as I love Batman Begins, I do get taken out how he's like, I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you. I'm like, come on. He basically left them to die.
Exactly.
Batman wouldn't do that. And Superman, it's okay for him to kill Zod because A, he was trying to save people, and B, he still hasn't come up with that fine line that he won't cross yet.
Although, now, I can certainly greatly understand why people feel this way, but there's a lot of people that thought that rang a little hollow for the reason that for that rest of the fight, Superman has been punching and throwing Zod into buildings and throwing him and destroying other buildings, which made him seem like he wasn't caring that much about saving the people.
Yeah, but I think
because
it was just collateral damage. You know, it's one of those things where he had to defend himself, and it wasn't. People were clearing out. It wasn't like he was directly trying to injure people.
There was certainly a lot of damage.
Right?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. Wait, we're talking
More
about
than
the
any other
battle at the
Superman
end, right?
movie.
Not yet.
There was
Yeah.
a lot of collateral damage in this.
Oh yeah.
But I'm
Going
gonna
on Transformers on his ass.
I'm gonna conclude by saying this is my favorite movie of the year again. It's my favorite DC superhero movie other than the first Superman movie. I'm really, really excited for the sequel, especially with the way they set it up at the end.
Yeah.
And kudos to the team. And this is not the Superman movie I was wanting, but I'm totally satisfied with what they gave me.
Mhm.
Sean.
Okay, Man of Steel. Again, we're coming off of a not so good attempted sequel, and I use that sequel term loosely. Thing that going in, I guess the big thing that had me worried was in Zack Snyder directing because Sucker Punch, it is bad.
What about Goyer's writing? I mean, he hasn't written anything good in the past except for stories.
Batman.
Well, he wrote the story, not the screenplay for Dark Knight or Dark Knight Rises.
I'd say his best work is with Nolan, but anyway,
Yeah.
again, with Nolan involved, that's why I was not worried because again, Nolan, he what he's did to Batman doesn't need any more introduction than what we already know about it. But yeah, wow, this is actually quite great movie. A lot of things what Matt said, like. I think this is really the first Superman film that really focused on him being an alien, because if you look at the first film, that's not really as big of a plot point. and some the acting is great all around. Henry Cavill is a really great Superman. I think he had the charisma that Reeve had. Lois, Amy Adams, she was great as Lois. Michael Shannon, I won't say Michael Shannon really stole the show like I think a lot of people were hoping, but he's still great. Like again, you can see where he's coming from, and also again, even though he's a bad guy, he's even more of a bad guy because he kills Jor-El, which is like it's a change, but let's face it,
it's a change for the better because that was borrowed from.
He would have still died in Krypton. Also, again, kudos to Russell Crowe and Kevin Costner. They were both great as his two dads. Like, you can see how both are influencing Superman's actions. Russell Crowe is actually in it a lot more than I think anyone expected because, like in the other movies, like with Marlon Brando, he shows up like a hologram. Actually, no, AI, I think. I remember when they first showed him on that ship that Clark goes into. I was kind of like, wait, he's still alive? But I don't know. They kind of explained it like it's his AI, which is really advanced because he recognizes who Lois Lane is when he's like, and he keeps telling Lois Lane like, shoot that guy. Oh, turn your head to the left a second.
And then he does hand motion door openings,
which is like using the Force.
Yeah.
Kevin
Costner, that scene where his character dies in a tornado it's a powerful scene because I think it's actually I don't know I think it works better than in the original continuity because it's always Pa Kent dies of a heart attack, but it works well too because it's the one thing that Superman can't stop unless he becomes a promoter for Cheerios, but that's different. But that's not what we're talking about here.
Hey, well, the product placement in this movie that wouldn't have felt out of place.
Yeah,
honestly. But that whole tornado scene, I felt like they were trying to be nice and not get PETA to hate on them if they killed a dog.
No, it's all those that tornado that happened to like Oklahoma. They were considering cutting it, but because kind of like how they would Gangster Squad, they cut that scene in the theater because of the Aurora. But unlike that movie, that scene it really works. It has more meaning to it, and with this it was like how Pa Kent was worried about how Clark would his powers would become known to the public. So Clark could have saved him, but he's just like no. He was accepting of his fate. Yeah, when that happens, I was like, oh shit, like that. And okay, what else?
Yeah.
About the third act, I will admit, I think it goes on a bit too long. It's just, it's not, again, this movie had, like, really consistent character development throughout, but then the third act was really more just like, fight. But, yeah, those fight scenes were awesome. That key scene at the end when, again, Superman kills Zod. Again, the thing, I know it's the whole thing about Superman not killing, but here's the thing. He didn't want, you can see he didn't want to do it. But he had to, because otherwise
people would die.
God would have killed those humans, and then once he does it, he shows remorse. It's not like he's just like, okay, Zod is dead. Okay, end story. No, he shows remorse for it.
Yeah.
Because now he's really the last of his people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great
and that can set up how he doesn't kill.
Yeah, I cried when Christopher Meloni died. I like Christopher Meloni.
No, I liked him too.
He
works much better than someone like Matthew Modine did in The Dark Knight Rises.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know. Matt pretty much summed it up in a nutshell. Like, there is a lot. Again, this is a lot of drastic change. And I'm sorry. Another thing I really liked was the whole flashback thing. How it might be a little abrupt at first. Like once Kal-El leaves Krypton and lands on Earth, immediately he's an adult. Which again could kind of throw people off. But
I actually love that jump cut.
Yeah, I bet some people will be like, wait, he's already an adult? What? But yeah, those flashbacks, they worked very well. They set up the character, and wow. Yeah, and still, I'm so glad this turned out as great as it did. It's as Matt will definitely agree, a hell of a lot better than the last Superman film that we got.
Better than the last 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
3.
Well,
Counting Superman 3, Superman 4, and Returns.
I like it more than both cuts of 2.
I don't count that, but apparently an Easter egg is that once Clark goes into the ship, he sees all these Kryptonian pods, and most people in there are dead. There's one empty, so I've been hearing everyone saying is Supergirl in it, but there's a couple of references. There's like 3 instances where the LexCorp logo is shown, like
and Wayne
Enterprises. Yes, Matt. I told Matt this. Matt told me he wouldn't have noticed this had I not mentioned it to him.
Yeah, I didn't catch it.
As soon as I saw it, I turned to you. I was like, "Did you see that?" But yeah, I heard about it before I saw it. So
me too.
So I don't know. Who knows? Maybe this is setting up Justice League. I don't know. Well, thankfully, from what I'm guessing, the sequel is coming out like 2015, which if that means they're not going to do the Justice League movie into 2015, great.
That's good.
That's what I want. That's like, thank you, because they were rushing it. They were rushing it, and
they got the guy from Gangster Squad to write the first screenplay for Justice League, and then they just tore that up.
It scrapped it.
They must have saw Gangster Squad.
Yeah.
Wasn't that bad.
Well, here's the thing. Gangster Squad, a film with multiple characters, only two are given real character development, but that's another movie. So,
Exactly.
Man of Steel.
I say make a Batman-Superman movie team up.
Well, that's to do with
Maybe
Wonder
that would be
Woman, too.
Do that first before the Justice League.
Honestly, if they did that and not a Justice League movie, I think more people would accept it.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah. I never thought I'd say this. Yeah, Zack Snyder, kudos, man. I didn't think at first that he would be the good choice for the movie, but yeah. Again, I think a lot of people went in fearing that this is going to be the Dark Knight all over again because Christopher Nolan was producing.
Yeah.
This is Zack Snyder's movie.
And no slow motion.
Thank God.
I was so shocked.
A lot of Snyder's, more notable, I guess you can kind of say infamous director traits are not shown much in his individuals. Yeah.
Even though, I'm glad he didn't use slow motion. I kind of wanted just one punch that was in slow motion, just as a little touch in there, just one.
You know what? If they did it once, I'd be fine with it. But if he did it like the whole friggin' movie, I'd be like, okay.
No. That
like maybe near the end when he's fighting Zod. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had originally given this a movie about 4 out of 5, mainly because of the third act. But now that I think about it, I'm upping it to 4.5 out of 5. So, yeah. That's Man of Steel for you. From my view.
I'll start with my niggles at first because I do think they keep me from saying it's great, but it is definitely very good. I love, as actual compositions, I loved Hans Zimmer's score a lot.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. That's awesome too.
However,
trumps anything he did in the Dark Knight trilogy.
However, I think they overuse it and repeat it way too much.
Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, there's a lot of repeated motifs.
And there's a lot of scenes that should be quiet scenes or more just talky scenes, and they have the same, To
be fair, the Dark Knight movies are the same way.
I don't know. I noticed it a little bit more here, though.
Dark Knight is full of it.
But otherwise, it's overused, which I thought kind of took me out of some of the talking scenes a little bit. And also, I actually, when I was going through one of the forums, reading people's reactions, someone invented a term for this, and I think it's quite apt. This movie suffers from Goyer log, which is a lot of really on the nose. Not only was it on the nose dialogue, but I thought overall the dialogue was kind of weak in a lot of points.
Mhm.
There was a lot of declarative statements that I thought were cheesy, which didn't really fit with the more serious tone of a lot of it, and it kind of took me out of some parts of it.
Mhm.
So it's very rare actually that I notice dialogue that was bothering me. So I was surprised, and also, like you guys said, the third act kind of devolves into action. And I also thought that even though the first half is definitely, of course, slower than the second half, I think the first half could have used a little bit more downtime also, because it seemed like they were jumping around a bit, and there wasn't as much of the characters interacting. Now, despite all of that...
Wait, let me just say that a lot of that, I'd much rather have that than the Dark Knight movies where they just talk and talk and talk.
Fair enough. Now, while I did say that, as I expected from Zack Snyder, the action was fucking awesome and out of this world.
Michael Bay, you could eat your heart out.
Oh my god. I think the best fight is in Smallville. And while Michael Shannon was definitely great, I wanted to see more of Fora, the badass girl Kryptonian. Like, I don't know, just every time she was on screen, she just had so much evil, like, pouring out of her. It was like, I want to see, like, her just be, like, the main villain the whole time. And, yeah, I thought that fight in Smallville was great. I also liked how when she made, like, her entrance in Smallville, she had another big Kryptonian next to her, which is kind of like a nod to Non from the second movie.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I loved the production design and costume design so much on this. Not just in the Krypton sequence, but just in general, like the ship designs, the interior designs, all the costumes that the Kryptonians wear. I remember when I first saw the Superman suit in stills, I was skeptical of it, but seeing it in the finished movie, it looks fantastic with what they do with it. And I think this is also, while the first two Superman movies definitely have a lot of grand epic moments, I think this is the first Superman movie to fully tap into that, like, concussive, like, massive power that Superman has, like, as just this ball of energy of destruction going around. And, like, every single punch that gets thrown is, like, felt. Like, it feels like a shockwave is hitting them every time they land a punch on each other. It was so glorious to behold.
Now I gotta ask, did you tear up at the part where Kevin Costner and his kid are talking?
You mean the
You Are My
Cat
Son?
Spears. Well, it was kind of. I wish that wasn't in the trailer, because if it wasn't in the trailer, I probably would have. But because I had seen that trailer so many times, I had become.
I still did. I was like, God damn it.
I was actually getting close to tears at both the beginning Krypton scene and the part where Costner dies in Tornado.
I cried when they were in the garage and Pa Kent said, "For you are my son," and they hugged.
Yeah, that's the scene Matt was talking about.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I was taking a piss.
And
all right, Grinch. Go ahead.
also, well, hold on. But before he unleashes, before he makes us kneel before him, I think that all the flying stuff was great. It really felt, every time he launches off the ground, it feels like we're in 1978 again, where, the whole "we can believe a man can fly." Because I remember I read there was an interview with Zack Snyder where they asked him about how he was handling the flying stuff, and he said he wanted to make it feel like a rough
like almost violent experience, like flying through the air, and that certainly comes through fantastically here, especially in that initial takeoff from the snow where he, puts his fist on the ground and you see all the rocks in the snow, lift up slowly to gravity, and then he just shoots off like a cannon. So good. And I think, I even though, of course, Russell Crowe was great, I would have liked there to be a bit more Costner, too. And I think, actually, another little minor issue I had was I think Pa Kent's death scene would have been a little bit more effective if we had seen at least one more scene of the two of them before that, because there's like one or two others after it, and I think if they had placed his death scene maybe after one of those instead of like the second scene we see him, it might have had a little bit more impact. But otherwise, all the actors and actresses do great in their roles. I mean, we'll always remember Christopher Reeve, but Henry Cavill is certainly more than capable of handling this role for multiple films. He's great. Costner's great. Diane Lane, great as Ma Kent. Amy Adams, I thought, was also fantastic. Michael Shannon. And as I said before we started recording, I thought the final line was perfect.
Perfect setup.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Kill all the positivity.
Because of my issues, it's only a 3 out of 4. But I did think it was really good.
I think it's going to be one of these movies that you'll like it more the more you watch it.
Probably.
That's funny. All right.
He's like, you liar.
Yeah, I know. Because, see, I saw this film at midnight, and then I saw it again the next day. All right, you know what? I saw it the next day. Hopefully I could like it more. Give it the benefit of the doubt. It is. Did not like it the second time. I hated it worse. I hated it more, I meant. And my thing is, all right, yeah, Zack Snyder's directing was good. Though I felt
he's got his quiet voice on.
Okay, when Zack Snyder was doing the flashback scenes, I felt like he was being a bit too French artsy with it, and it wasn't really captivating for me. Then again, I did have a lot of fun with the movie, considering the action scenes, but it just never really had me. Like, my problem is, okay, the acting was great, but they were so one-dimensional to me. Like, I couldn't care less except for anybody but Clark Kent. So all these, like, add-ins, or, like, the basic add-ins of the major characters, I didn't really care for. I didn't like Lois Lane's introduction at all. Some of the lines were very cheesy. Like, when she's like, what if I have to go tinkle? Oh, the bucket in the corner.
That was one of the more awkward bits.
Oh my god.
That was pure
line.
Goyer.
Yeah.
Honestly, the biggest problem with the film is the writing. Like, Goyer can't write a script to save his life.
When he's not working with somebody else.
Which is most of the time. And the thing is, like,
Day 3.
I'm watching this first time, like, alright, it never really had me, like, okay, yeah, the Krypton scenes, that was awesome, it was beautiful, I was actually emotionally attached to it, but then after that, it takes a while for me to even pick up. Another thing that really pissed me off is the use of Lana Lang for just that one scene. Just that one fucking scene.
Well, it's a nod. She's not necessary.
Still, like...
She's not needed in a movie like this.
The thing is, like, I like nods, but not too much, and I just didn't care.
Oh, you want to talk about nods? Superman Returns is chock full of them.
Oh, I know. I never finished it. I told you, I was watching it on FX, and I had to turn it off like an hour in. And the thing is, the film, it has its moments, but it's not good as a whole. I feel like the first act is really good. The second act is hit or miss for me. The third act picks up a bit, but it's not completely great. And though I would like to say Michael Shannon was really good as General Zod, I was underwhelmed by his performance and the character in general. Like, Like, I didn't care about his death. Like, he got killed.
Healing.
Yeah. No, it's just the movie never completely has me. And I think it's mostly the writing. Also, Amy Adams did not know what she wanted to do with Lois Lane. Like, she just acted like her regular self. And because of that, like, it made Lois Lane bland for me. She wasn't interesting. And I don't know how it's going to play on in the next films. And it's like so... I feel like I have a lot more problems with this film than I should. And partially because, like, I went into this film with high expectations, so all these fucking plot holes and, annoyances just, like, popped out at me, which happened with Dark Knight Rises. Because, I mean, those trailers looked so great.
I was gonna say, I'm not sure you guys had higher expectations than I did, because every time a trailer came on TV, I was like, I need to see this now.
My expectations were through the roof.
Dude, I was squealing like a little girl every time I saw a new trailer up. And I will admit, I'll agree with Augie, the Smallville fight scene was the best one. Instead of the one in Metropolis. And it's like, also that ending with the bald guy trying to get with Lois Lane again with, like, the whole courtside tickets, and then trying to get with the female Jimmy Olsen. It's just, the movie's just, it's like with Matt and Superman Returns, except not as bad. The movie, it just wasn't great to me. I could say it's like borderline between mediocre and just, like, bad. And the bad things, like, for me, like, overshadowed the good. And the only really good thing I could say about this movie is most of the directing and the acting.
Uh-huh.
So, honestly, like, it's like, after watching it twice, like, I really couldn't see myself watching this again until the near future. And possibly giving it another chance. It's right now, it's like a 1.5 out of 4 for me.
Superman will... Dang.
Yeah, 1.5 out of 4.
We need Alex to swoop in right now. I'm sure he's positive.
You mentioned plot holes. I can't think of any.
It's funny, actually, when I was watching it, there was some points where I thought there were plot holes, but then they actually explained them.
Exactly.
So, I can't think of...
when I was saying plot holes, I was being, like, generic, because, like, there were a lot of plot holes in Dark Knight Rises. So I'm saying, like, when I was watching the film, like, a lot of, like, stuff just popped out at me that were really bad.
Like...
I mean, Dark Knight Rises was a bit more obvious with its plot holes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what plot holes are you talking about exactly?
Oh, no. I don't think there was, like, barely or even any plot holes. I was just being, like, general about it, because I think the one thing with Man of Steel is just, let's say, a plot hole. Alright, wait.
Have any?
Wait, okay, when General Zod, right before he walked into the place with all the tubes and, like, the other species from Krypton, like, growing up and stuff, I know it was after the whole, like, gravity thing, whatever, to make Krypton more atmospheric, but did he, like, actually hone his senses and get used to Earth's atmosphere, or was Krypton's atmosphere already on there, so he was able to see clearly?
They showed him honing his senses in the moment.
Okay. Yeah, because I was wondering, because, like, I remember they're basically turning the atmosphere back into Krypton, and he's used to the Kryptonic atmosphere.
But the process wasn't done yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought, like, the process moved on slowly, so there was, like, some in there, but it wasn't completely done, so I thought it made it easier for him to hone his senses.
Yeah, no, they do a whole close-up where it shows him focusing.
Okay.
You're wrong.
No, I'm right. The movie sucks.
It seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like your expectations were too high.
Oh, dude, you have no idea. Like,
Actually, go ahead.
like as I said, like, me and my friends, every time we saw a new trailer, we just, like, we're screaming at the computer, asking it to come out or at least be available to us right now. We needed to see this at the exact moment that the trailers kept on coming out at. And the one thing that really heightened my expectations was that one, like, promo clip. 'Cause remember in when Zod sends that transmission to Earth and asks for Cal to return to them?
Are you talking about the Zod trailer?
Yeah.
Oh,
that
that was a
that-
great trailer.
dude, that made me just die inside and want to watch this movie right away. And if I did it, I would blow up a school.
Well, don't worry, there's plenty of destruction in this one.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, there's an interesting point I heard that I know how most of us feel that this character has been overused, but if they decided to use Lex in the next one, they would have it. What?
No.
Well, hold on. No, I'm just saying this is what they said. They said if they decided to do Lex, what a cool sequel idea would be to Lex helping to rebuild the city, and he would use that as leverage, like negative leverage, to like turn the Metropolis people against Superman because he helped cause a lot of that destruction.
That is true.
Yeah, that could work.
I want the President Luthor storyline.
That might be a little bit quick to start out with, but I'm sure if they keep Lex around, they could build to that.
No, I'm just saying that I want that eventually.
Ooh, actually, what would be cool is if they had that whole thing about, Lex, turning the people against Superman, but he wasn't the villain in the second one. But in the third movie, by that point, he had become so, liked because of that campaign. He turns into President Luthor, and then he's the villain in the third movie.
Yeah, then you do Public Enemies, where he makes Superman a wanted fugitive.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when you can throw in, like, Metallo and Toymaker and Trickster, characters like that.
Do you think that if they do Lex, they would try to adapt his robo-suit?
I don't think so.
Yeah. The reason I ask is because by using Zod in this first movie, they started out huge. Like, this is probably the biggest scale superhero movie I've ever seen. So I don't know how they could, to start out so big, it feels like almost like they were trying to blow their wad, like on this first one. So
Oh.
they would have to pull something really creative out of their hat.
Yeah, Darkseid,
That's true.
Doomsday,
Yeah.
Brainiac.
But would you do Darkseid or Doomsday in the second movie, though?
No, I do Brainiac.
Yeah, I was going to say
Especially
Brainiac.
with our whole age of technology and wiretapping and stuff like that.
Yep. That would be a good choice.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to leave off, actually.
Sorry, Alex.
By the way, I want Michael Rosenbaum to play Lex.
That's a good idea.
Get him back, please.
I never watched Smallville. I was told it was crap.
It was not crap. The first 7 seasons are tremendous, then it goes downhill.
I think Michael C. Hall would be a great choice.
Billy Zane.
Yeah, they've been throwing his name around. Bryan Cranston. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
No, I like the
I
Michael
can't
C.
see-
Hall pick.
Yeah. Then he can finally be in a good movie.
Or Billy Zane, just to see an utter train wreck.
Oh my god. I would love it if Billy Zane played him.